Alright, so with Digimon Con having happened a few days ago, there's been a pretty unanimous sentiment, at least as far as the game section is concerned, that it was a bit underwhelming, especially with how hyped the con was. I've seen a lot of people say that it was way too long, and that again, with the games in particular, we weren't really given any substantial information, which was justifiably expected with this type of event. So basically, in this video, we're going to be talking about the first hour of the stream, because it was, for me, and I'm pretty sure most of my audience, the main event, if you will. Most of you guys are here for gaming content, and that's what I'm most interested in and excited for. So what made this so disappointing for so many people? Well, let's start with how it was broken up. So the first half an hour of the event was Digimon Survive, and the second was general gaming questions with regards to the Digimon franchise, making for an hour total. This entire hour was also formatted like a Q&A, with the first half an hour featuring questions regarding Survive and the second half an hour just about general Digimon games. I think a lot of people were expecting this to be more like a Nintendo Direct or a Pokemon Presents, sort of showcasing a lot of things and maybe doing a little bit of Q&A, but the entire thing was a Q&A, and I do think that did rub people a little bit the wrong way. I will say though, they did manage to answer a lot of questions that I don't think Nintendo or the Pokemon Company or any prominent developers would actually answer. Like, they straight up said, we don't know if that's going to sell enough. These are the types of questions that I wouldn't expect them to say. For a lot of people, that wouldn't be considered PR talk, if you will. So I do definitely gotta commend them for that. Anyways, the Digimon Survive section mostly consisted of questions about why it was delayed and what to expect from the game. I know a lot of people were disappointed because we did not receive an official release date. The closest thing we have is that Amazon Japanese site listing the games as June 30th, which, like I stated a couple times now, is likely just a Q2 placeholder. All they said was, please wait a little bit longer, they'd give us some information. On the other hand, they did show off some of the game's mechanics, and they did explain the battle system and had a little cinematic trailer, but we didn't get much information outside of that. Now, me personally, as someone who's not typically into tactical RPGs, but is literally giving this game a chance because it's Digimon, I was fine with the amount of information we got on Survive. I would have liked the release date, but it's better that they don't give us one yet instead of them giving us one and then delaying it. As for the second half of the game section, it was mostly just answering questions, which, albeit honest answers, but disappointing ones. When asked about certain ports, we generally got an answer saying, we'll consider it. When asked about bringing certain games to the West, they'd say they'd consider it. When asked whether or not we would get a Digimon game with real-time combat where you can control your Digimon, they basically said, that's kind of expensive, but we'll consider it. And while I totally get they're not wanting to make any promises that they can't keep, it almost makes you wonder why even have an hour-long gaming segment and hype up this Digimon event for all Digimon fans when realistically, this could have just been a Q&A session they did for an hour or whatever as a separate event, not really part of Digimon Con. I love the idea of them having a yearly Digimon event, and I think that's really awesome, but I do think that 6 hours is a little long to make the event, especially when the gaming section could have easily been covered in 30 minutes or less. Them continually saying, we'll consider it, we'll consider it, we'll consider it, to me just means they might as well have not have answered those questions, because it doesn't really give us an answer. So I don't know why they selected those questions in particular when there was a lot of other questions that were asked as well. Maybe they were trying to gauge community feedback on these ideas, and that's why they mentioned them at all, because they wanted to get a discussion going. I'm not too sure, but I can definitely understand why hearing "will consider it" for 30 minutes straight can cause disappointment. One thing I will say, and even though it was breadcrumbs, we were given some level of insight into the next Digimon story game. I don't know how far into development it is, and I do think a little teaser trailer would have been amazing. I do know that some people would say, well, that would take away from Survive, but I mean, they're completely different games. I don't really see a turn-based RPG stepping too harshly on a tactical RPG's toes. I don't know, let me know what you guys think about that. But yeah, I know a lot of people were really anticipating this con, and we did get some interesting information outside of the games, but you'd think for the first Digimon Con they'd really want to go all out. And I understand if they didn't have really anything to show, but that makes you wonder why even have it at this time. They could have easily done it any other time. Like, they chose to start the first Digimon Con when it happened. There was no one waiting for this until it was announced. And I also do think it's really funny that they put it on Pokemon Day in Japan. I just think that's hilarious. But yeah, if anyone at Bandai Namco or Digimon is watching, I just want to say that the Digimon Con is a great idea. It's really cool that you guys are having this big event for all the different aspects of your franchise. I'd just like to say, at least gauge expectations a little bit leading up to it. Just say like, hey guys, there's going to be some info on Digimon Survive, nothing major, so that people don't get the wrong impression. I really do want to see Digimon Con become a yearly thing, because I definitely think this is something we need, especially, and this was already mentioned in the con itself, Digimon is a hard franchise to just get into because there's so many different aspects to it, and there's not really like a core thing. Some people say it's a stories franchise, other people will say it's the show, some people will say it's a TCG, but there's not really like a clear point of entry for the franchise for both newcomers and people that, let's say, were fans in the past but kind of fell off. So I think Digimon Con is a good way to sort of bridge that gap, and I hope they continue to improve and fine-tune it. But I do want to turn this to the community and ask what your guys' thoughts are on this. I'm someone who has always liked Digimon, but was never really a hardcore fan or really into the games until recently. I grew up watching the show, specifically the first 2 seasons of Adventures, and I absolutely loved it, but I definitely fell off the franchise for a while. Recently, within the last couple of years, I definitely found myself into it once again, but a big part of it was just you didn't really know where to go from there. I definitely want to hear from you guys though, especially the hardcore Digimon fans that have been following the franchise for the last 20 years. And like I said before, if the Digimon team is watching this somehow, the monster taming genre has grown substantially within the last couple of years. My channel is proof of this, so definitely capitalize on it because we want more Digimon content, especially in the West. But with all that, if you guys did enjoy the video and if you're a fan of Digimon or just the monster taming genre in general, definitely subscribe to the channel because I put out new videos every single day. You can also check me out on Discord, my Twitter, my Patreon, all links below. Special thanks to the patrons, especially Dark Persona, Jim Hamilton, and Steel Case, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.